Welcome to Learning Life Skills Together. This is our weekly community Zoom meeting where our guests help us to go deeper into the 4 life skills and open up a huge array of chances to practice them. Hello, everyone. This is Learning Life Skills Together Community Zoom meeting number 106. And I'm here today with Chief Bluejay of the Unilachtigo tribe of the Lenape Nation. And interestingly, to me, the Unilachtigo people are the ones from the New Jersey coastal region, so down by the ocean, or the shore, if you want to be from here. Um, and one of Chief Bluejay's specialties is storytelling. And so I have asked her to share a short story with us so that we can get ourselves settled in, so that we can use our attention the way we always do at the beginning of one of our meetings. So this is a slightly different take on it. So, welcome, Bluejay.
Well, Tamiki is our word for welcome.
Ah.
It's an honor to be here. So, so the story is called The Story of the Two Wolves. There was a young boy, and he was playing with his arrow, and 3 other little boys came by, and they took it from him, and they broke it, and he was very, very sad. So he asked his grandfather, I said, "Grandfather, I'm very upset. My friends, they broke my arrow." And he said, "Well," the grandfather said, there's this thing, there's a story about the two wolves. It's really about a terrible fight that's going inside of you. And everybody has this going on. Me, you, and every person that's on earth. One is full of evil and anger and sorrow and regret and greed and self-pity and false pride. And the other one is joy and happiness, humility and love and faith and kindness. And you have to decide what wolf you want to feed. Those young boys, they were feeding the evil one, the black wolf. And you in return, you have to decide, are you going to be the black wolf? Or are you going to be the white wolf? And how you're going to handle what they did to you. And his grandfather smiled, and the boy smiled back. And he thought about what his grandfather said, and he thought about how he should react. And that's how we tell our stories. We usually use animals to give a meaning, and how to they represent what's going on in our lives.
Yeah, and that is a big story right now. And those are big animals too. Wolves are really something. Um, so the whole idea of storytelling is one that brings us to attention. It sort of starts out, okay, well, maybe this happened, and then we go like, oh, and our attention moves in, and there's a change in us. There's a change in the way we are when we're hearing a story, or when someone is sharing a story with us, I should say, maybe. And so that is a way of experiencing together something that has beauty to it and that has a message to it. And this one, a message of maybe um, joy and compassion are better, which is not a bad, not a bad message to be putting out into the world. So I asked you to tell a story, one, because I do like stories, And two, because it's this way into what we think of as paying attention. Because I bet that there's a feeling that develops inside as we hear the story, too. I know for me, when you said, that those two wolves were fighting inside, I had a feeling inside me of, yeah, that happens. You're saying everybody has this, and I'm like, yeah, absolutely, and I can feel it. And so that's what we're really after with our first skill in this program of paying attention and knowing, you know, what it is that we're paying attention to. So we hear the story, but then it's knowing how we feel that really matters. And I'm wondering, as a storyteller, you know, how you think about what's happening with a story as it sort of takes us over, maybe. Is that too big an
No, that's fine. So
idea?
with that story still has to become my own yet. Different
Mhm.
stories as I tell them, it's become
Ah,
my own. Rainbow Crow, I get very emotional because I feel I'm the crow. I tell a story about a little sparrow with a broken wing. It was about the fifth or sixth time I was telling it, and a good friend of mine said, "You were very emotional." I said, "I finally became the sparrow." So the story about the two wolves, when I told it today, I still haven't become the wolves in it yet. I haven't told it enough for it to
mm,
become me. And
wow,
that's what makes a good storyteller, because they get their point across because people can feel your emotion.
yeah,
Um, and that's a lot of our ancient teachings. We didn't have schools. They were told through stories,
uh,
how you projected your voice. Um, and and you know, you're listening, so you're more in tune because you're some people listen with their eyes closed. They're even more in tune when, different senses. If one shuts down, the other one is stronger. A lot of
yeah,
time, when I tell stories, I'm sitting today. So it's really hard for me to sit and tell a story. I prefer to
oh,
walk and tell a
mm,
story.
wow, wow. So there's a lot in what you just said in terms of our thinking about this practice of attention. And the first one is this idea that, oh, the more I tell it, the more I am with this story, sort of the more I can take it on and make it my own. And that's really one of the things that parents get to do with their kids is to do things over and over again. And we keep saying that in the program, and we're not really a culture that does that. We're like ready to move on to the next thing. And so, okay, we say, well, go out and take a walk. And people go out and they take a walk. "Oh, that was great. Okay, we did the walk thing. What else should we do?" It's like, no, go take another walk. And and what you're saying is that it becomes more profound as we do it and make it our own and make it our own thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Um, sometimes we look at animals. Look at a turtle, you know, especially you see them sitting on, like, basking on a
Hmm.
log in the warm sun.
Yeah.
They understand, appreciate the wisdom of being comfortable, resting, and leisure like.
Yeah.
You know, um, our people lived a very difficult life in the very beginning. It was a life of survival. So the turtle reminds us sometimes we need to take time to take it easy. You know,
Mm.
um,
Yeah.
also turtles live close to the ground. They're close to the earth. And we were also, if you notice, we were taught we were always told to keep your feet on the ground, instead of, be more like a turtle instead of strutting around with your chin up, acting stuck up. That's the
Mm.
common today's
Oh,
expression. You
yeah.
know, acquire some humility and don't be so rude or pretentious with relationships.
Yeah. So be like a turtle. Yeah, that idea of being, I like being close to the ground because,
Right.
we're asking people to stay grounded, that's really important. So, and the concept of humility, I think, is really an important one. The turtle is humble. I bet there's a humble turtle story somewhere.
Well, we have this story, and I shouldn't say a pro. Uma Turi, a close friend of mine, she does the stories of the seven grandfathers, and they go in the row. And I've heard it enough, but I don't feel like it's become my own yet. I'm
Mm,
gonna
yeah.
work on that because it's a beautiful story. Each animal represents different emotions that we go through.
Ooh, wow. So is again this idea of, yeah, I want to live with this. I want to go over this again and again is just so much what we're hoping for parents and their kids. You know, kids do like to say again.
Yes, they do.
And maybe we think we've outgrown it, but I'm not entirely sure that that's what's going on. Maybe again is a good thing with these deals. So yeah, so paying attention, staying grounded, a little humility. These are all things that come right out of that idea of paying attention, I think, and that capacity of paying attention. And so we, with attention, in the program, we talk about it with the activity of walking, and I'm just wondering what walking strikes in you, if that.
Well, we were always taught to walk softly because our ancestors are underneath their feet.
Ooh, wow,
So you want to walk gentle. You want to honor them. You want to walk gentle.
wow,
Um, so I when I tell a story, I walk because it paces me. It makes me for me it's a calming effect. I like to walk slow. It keeps me,
yeah.
I just that's just the way I watched my grandfather do it that way. I learned from him. Like today, it's when you're sitting, it's
Right, yeah, yeah, it's wrong.
yeah, but
It makes it harder.
it does. So,
Yeah,
but it's
no,
okay. We, as humans, we are adaptable.
we are indeed. Yeah, and we can walk softly if we keep that in mind. So, wow, I like that one a lot. So, um, going for walks and just paying attention is really what we're hoping for with the parents, to go outside, which is a really big theme, for us, and frankly for me. Um, a lot of the work that I'm interested in is finding ways for people to be out of doors more because we have really lost our impulse to do that. There's something like, 100 years ago, all of the peoples living here would have been outside 80-90% of the day, of their waking hours. Now it's like 10 if you're
Our
lucky.
bodies were meant to walk.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
were nomadic.
Oh, they definitely were meant to walk. And we know how big a benefit it is if people actually do it. Yeah. So we're really trying to propel that along. And so your stories get told while walking. And are there stories that are walks?
Um, I do tell stories about plants and I walk, but traditionally our stories were in the very beginning, our stories were told during a ceremony.
Oh, okay.
Uh, um, Technically, I shouldn't be telling a story right now because
Hmm.
it's springtime. You don't tell stories in the spring,
Wow.
the summer, or the fall because there's much work to be done. In the wintertime, that's our time to relax, take a break, make do
Hmm.
beading and things like that. Not that it's not done without the year, but you have to remember in the beginning it was for survival.
Yeah.
But our stories and the reason why we have ceremonies and we give thanks is we do ceremonies each season for whatever sustains us.
Hmm.
And we're thankful people. Another thing that we do that is mindfulness. Every day we start each day with a prayer and quiet. You know, you know,
Hmm.
you sit with the earth and many times my grandfather, people do vision quests, or my grandfather would say, if you're having a problem, go into the woods and sit and let your thoughts become you. And then you'll get different thoughts or maybe an animal will pop up or run by and then you watch the animal and you we learn by the animal characteristics what they're trying to tell us. Like I tell the kids, maybe you saw a bear the other day. The bear's trying to tell you, yes, you strong, you will pass your test, don't be afraid.
Mm.
you know
Yeah. I like that. So the idea is that I'm sitting still and paying attention to my thoughts, to what's going on there, but also to what's going on around me. So that's the definition of a mindfulness practice, really. It's like, yeah. And to do that in nature where we get that sort of added benefit of what the natural world does for our bodies, you know. I said a little earlier, 10 minutes of being outside changes how we are. It changes the chemicals that are running through our bodies, and we feel differently. Why don't we take advantage of that? He wondered. Yeah.
even I, some days my days are busy, but like if when I go to when I go to my chiropractor, there's this little road that my science teacher showed me where the wood ducks live.
Ooh,
So I go down that way and I might just spend 10 minutes there and it's along a creek and I haven't seen the ducks yet, but maybe one day I will. But he
yeah,
told me they're there and they come back every year um, to have their babies. So they're probably
yeah.
gone by now. But then when I was there the other day, I saw four deer drinking
Ooh,
in the stream. I saw a pair of mallards in the stream. So I listened to the stream making the noise, the babbling noises, the
yeah,
soft going over the rocks is very, very soothing.
indeed. Yeah. So people respond to nature in that way. And the deer drinking, they're very safe when they're drinking. They don't drink if there's anything going on that that might
Oh,
be
they saw me and they took one of them said, I'm still getting a drink. The other two said, I'm out of here.
really okay. Okay. Yeah.
They knew I wasn't supposed to be there. They
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
said, what, you know, they probably thought I had a fire stick.
Mm, yeah. Well, or maybe they felt your vibe. The one that kept drinking. Yeah. Yeah. So, so just in thinking about our, sort of how our program rolls along with mindfulness or attention going underneath it. And then this idea of going for a walk, being in nature, which plays into watching the animals, watching the birds, going fishing, doing all those kinds of things with the kids so that they sort of get the idea that there are reasons to be outside, that we don't actually, and here we get into the whole screen time thing, but that, we don't actually need to be entertained by something all the time. That the babbling of the water, the birds singing that we don't see, you know. Um, I'm trying to learn more of the bird songs because of that, because my eyes just are not what they were. And so I can't pick them out, but if I can learn the song, then I can say, oh, okay, that was the catbird. That's one I do know very easily. But and the blue jay, I have to say.
Yeah.
um, so we sort of have that piece, and then this idea of regulating our emotions, which is the kind of the story that you were telling us, is that okay, I need to make a choice as to which wolf I'm going to feed, so how do I go about that? And I noticed that the grandfather telling the story did not say, here's how you feed a wolf. Or is there?
You got to figure it out yourself.
That's what I'm thinking is, okay, well, I know I want to be that way. So now I have to figure out how I'm gonna be that way. Yeah, that's what's really, I think, stunning about a story like that, is that it says, okay, you want it? Work it out. Yeah, and so we watch our kids struggle to work it out. And that's okay, because that's what it means to be human. That's what it means to, well, also, I suppose, to be a wolf, but but that's what it means to be human, is to work things out for yourself and to have a way that you want to be, and be that self that you've chosen. So we have this idea of working with our emotions. We can give hints like you can take a deep breath or two or three and get yourself calmed down. You can. I love this idea of walking softly, because when we bring our attention into our feet and how they're going down onto the ground, uh, it takes us out of our head, which is usually where all the wolves are fighting, and brings us into another way of being in the world. So um, so there's lots out there for the kids to discover and for us to share in terms of that piece of it. Now, the thing that I really want to try to get at is what you were saying about, well, we don't tell stories in the spring because we have work to do. You know, and that's a point well taken, because, everything is going on in the spring, and we got to be ready, and the fish are running, and everybody's doing everything, and the plants need to be planted if we're going to be that way about it, and we need to start the harvests and do all that kind of stuff with, and the foraging stuff that we can do, the
But
fer-
there is a way to
the
get around.
ferns, the mushrooms, all of that stuff coming up now. Yeah, I'm sorry.
There is a way to get around telling the stories in the spring, the summer, and the fall. You're supposed
Oh.
to sit on top of 12 skunks because the skunks, um, there are these little bugs. They bite your feet, and and the skunks, they love to eat bugs, and the bugs are saying, "Yo, lazy one, you got to get moving." But if you're sitting on 12 skunks, you know,
They'll
the
clean you off.
skunks will eat the bugs, and then you're safe. But
Awesome.
so
I had
I
no
only
idea.
have one skunk. I need to get 11 more. So, but
Yeah,
I took a chance today. Um, Nothing bit my feet in my house, so I guess there's not a lot of bugs in my house today.
12 skunks. I can only imagine if they got upset or scared. Yeah. So, wow. Okay. So that's what you have to do to tell a story is to find 12 skunks. So really don't tell stories in the spring, I guess is the idea. Yeah. So what I love what I love about that is that it's, you know, first of all, it gives us a sense of the rhythms of the world and it brings us back into, okay, it's not just is it hot out? Can I complain yet? That kind of change of the seasons. But really, each one has its own character, and that's beautiful, and we can connect with that. The other part of it is this idea of how do we get through tough times? And it seems to me that there's some lessons in that of right now, it's this kind of a time, and we do this. And so it's, I don't know, this maybe this makes some sense and help me out because you're the one with the sort of way into the animal world and the natural world. It's like, okay, this is a time in which, as I said, all kinds of things are happening. It's spring moving towards summer, you know. It's really, really busy. And I should be keeping busy rather than saying, okay, well, let's sit and tell stories all day today, you know. Um, when we talk about getting through tough times, a lot of what we're talking about is what can I do that is good, that advances the good, that gets me out of myself. And so much of that is work, you know. So there's art in there, there's those kinds of things, but it is actually doing things, making things, and we sort of pair it up with this idea of making things, you know which I suppose is actually the winter, maybe, for you. But what I'm trying to say is that when we need to get out of thinking about ourselves and get into something else, it's like, well, the season right now is for doing something other than, thinking about me. It's for thinking about others or however I want to form that or making something. So can we look at things that way? Can we say, well, yes, this is a problem I'm having with this teacher who I'm going to have for the rest of this marking period? How am I going to get through it? I'm going to get through it by doing the work. Does that make sense?
Well, we're community people, so we do everything that's in a circle. We try to do. We were taught a lot of the things that are in our life are in a circle because there's no beginning and there's no end, and everyone's equal, and the creator's in the middle, and he's the one who centers us.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So there's a sense in which I'm in this situation and I would be joined by others, or I would know that they were with me. How does that how does that feel to you in your community?
We're supposed to. We see a lot of people ask how many people's in our family. Well, I can't tell you how many because if I count all the rocks and all the plants, all the four-leggeds, all the two-leggeds, all the creepy crawlers, all the fin ones, all the wing ones, I don't think I have enough fingers and toes.
Mm.
Um, and we see them all as our brothers and sisters. So what you do to your brothers and sisters, you do to yourself, and you have to keep that in mind.
Ooh,
We work for the betterment of all kind. You do things to share the greater good. You do things you dedicate your I guess you dedicate your effort for the greater good, you know.
Mm, yeah. Yeah, so that sense of getting outside yourself is really really enormous there with all of the family members that you just
Yeah.
mentioned or possibilities for them. Yeah, yeah, that's really
And we always say treat them with respect, and then you have to be responsible for your actions, you know. And,
mm,
like I'll give you an example. Yes, we hunted, okay? But before we killed the animal, we gave thanks because that animal gave up its life. We were told not to waste any part of it, so we used every part, and the parts we couldn't use, we would leave for the other animals to eat. So, you today in the modern world, I dare not hunt,
mm,
um, because um I get most of my stuff at the supermarkets. I have gardens and things like that, but I don't know. I I haven't been taught how to use all the parts of the animal. I know how to use some of the parts, so I wouldn't hunt. I would have to ask one of the warriors to show me how to, because how to use those parts, because through, like we said, we respect. Yet it gave up its life, so you don't want to be wasteful.
yeah, yeah. Wow, that is a potent thing um, to ponder on. Like the amount of one, the Thanksgiving at the beginning. The giving thanks for this animal. I think I heard that.
Yeah,
You know, and then because of that, and the animal's sacrifice, I need to use it all. I need to make sure that it all matters.
right.
Yeah, and mattering is a really big thing right now. So that leads me to this last piece of um, our program. So we've had attention, we've had emotion regulation, we've had tolerating distress, and we're sort of leaning into a community to do that. And so being able to communicate what it is that you need and to understand what others need is kind of this last um, skill. And you need all the other skills in order to be able to do that. And in order to do the thing that we chose as a quote activity, which is to belong. And so it sounds to me like there's a kind of belonging that's built into the view that you and your nation have of the world.
Right.
That idea that we are all the same family. I mean, which is almost an impossible thing to keep in my mind as modern a person as I am, sitting here in the middle of a university, with concrete and huge breathing buildings all around me. To remember that it's all part of the community and that I'm connected to it. So what are ways that you would think or that you practice to keep that connection foremost? Because that attention piece is really important.
I just try to be honest in all things, you know what I mean? Um, and think about what you're going to do and how it's going to affect, you know. I try to judge from the facts, not by from gossip, because we
Hmm.
have to, as a chief, you need to,
Yeah.
yeah, and sometimes I can't look. I don't look at the person. I close my eyes many times and say, okay, what are the facts? Because it's easier because then you're not put in that relationship. You're better off reading the facts.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
and that's what happens with us today. Sometimes we go on too much hearsay.
Yeah, I do believe you're right on that one. So, so to when you say facts, is that that sense of being grounded again that we started with?
Yeah.
Yeah. That there's some humility to that. It's like, well, yeah, I might think all these thoughts about it, but when you get right down to it, as we say, when we get down to it, this is really the fact. This is the thing
Right.
that's happening. Yeah.
And if I haven't seen it, then I said I really can't. Sometimes people will come to me and I listen and I my way of getting them to work it out. I said, well, I'll need some time to think about this.
Mm,
Um, and I might not get back to you tomorrow. I might not get you back to you a month. It might take me 3 months. I just need to sit and think about it. And most times they figure it out themselves.
yeah.
But
So,
sometimes they need to talk. But so yeah, as a chief, you're supposed to listen. You're supposed to listen. So
mm,
you do listen, but they have to learn the truth, what they hear in their mind, eh, what they hear in their hearts and their minds. They can't.
yeah,
they-
yeah.
and that's a very hard thing to do and to learn.
It is a very hard thing to do. And, we're going all the way back to the story about the two wolves. It's like, well, I want to be like the white wolf. I want to feed the white wolf. How do I do that?
Right.
Start, figure
And
it
that's
out. Yeah, yeah.
um my grandfather was a railroad engineer. And I remember the one time I had to make a decision and I went downstairs to my basement to paint feathers because I wanted to touch something that was natural and I felt painting feathers with the strokes it would bring comfort. And when I made my decision, I knew I made the right decision because the train whistle blew. So I was blessed with his approval. And that has happened many times through my life.
Wow.
So for a lot of indigenous people, um, certain animals will come in their life and they'll help them with a message. And that's why that's what we say you need to sit with nature and you need to do that.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can, you know, just what they're doing, say, oh, you know what? Um, that's what's going on in my life. Also, one time, um, I was going to ceremony and I made a lot of wrong turns. And every time I made a wrong turn, I looked up on the roof or in the yard, there was a turkey vulture or a black vulture. I couldn't tell the difference at that time. And I saw the one chief and I said, all the way here, everywhere I made a wrong turn, I saw vultures. And he said, Bluejay, what do they do? I said, well, they eat dead animals. Yeah, he goes, clean up the garbage in your life.
Oh.
You know, I was going through a toxic time in my life. I
Mm,
and there was people, and I sat quietly and thought hard, and I I put up boundaries and stayed away from those people
mm.
to the best of your ability.
Yeah, yeah,
Sometimes you have to work with people, so you figure out
yeah,
ways of dealing with them in a positive way.
yeah, yeah. Back to that first story again. Yeah. Wow. So when we sort of close one of these Zoom meetings, I ask the guest for a word of wisdom. And of course, you've been giving us a lot. So I would ask you to narrow it down to one. So we say word of wisdom or a watchword, and that can be like one word or one image that will help us, sort of move along.
I think the word I would like to use is balance.
Okay.
Keep your life in balance.
Hmm. So, and we need to do all the things that we have talked about, maybe in order to pull that off.
You have to remember there is good and bad. Just think about it. A beautiful rose. To get to that beautiful rose, how many thorns are going to prick your fingers? To get to to eat the fruit from a raspberry bush or a blackberry bush, how many
Yes.
thorns are you going to touch? Where a bad plant grows, a good plant grows. So you got poison ivy, okay? Right next to poison ivy is jewelweed. They balance each other out. So you got to keep your so we make mistakes, okay? But remember to balance them out. Keep things balanced. Learn from your mistakes. Keep things balanced.
There we go. I love it. Well, thanks so much for talking with us, Chief Blue Jay. I really appreciate it. I appreciate this whole different perspective and a new way of thinking. And I'm going away with some with kind of an intriguing idea that came up several times of just going out and sitting and watching what's happening. And maybe that isn't doesn't happen by chance, that maybe there's something there if we follow it enough. I love that idea. I'm going to go see what happens.
I appreciate that. And our word for thank you is Wanishi. So, Wanishi for allowing me to be here and share some of my wisdom on your podcast. I truly appreciate it. It's always good to share good things to help people because
Yes.
we are a community.
And I will say Wanishi.